$1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. She looked dully out the window at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. Her Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him, something fine and rare, something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. Suddenly, she whirled from the window and stood before the mirror. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost the color within seconds. Now, there were 2 possessions in which Della and Jim took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window to dry, just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee and made itself almost a garment for her. And then she did it up again, nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still, while a tear or 2 splashed on the worn red carpet. On went her old brown jacket, on went her old brown hat. With a whirl of skirts, and with the brilliant sparkle still in her eyes, she fluttered out the door and down the stairs to the street. Where she stopped, the sign read, "Hair goods of all kinds." "Will you buy my hair?" asked Della. "I buy hair," said Madame. "Take your hat off and let's have a sight at the looks of it." Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mass with a practiced hand. "Give it to me quick," said Della. The next 2 hours tripped by on rosy wings. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and value. The description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. When Della reached home, she got out her curling irons and went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love. Soon her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. Jim will say I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Della doubled the watch chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door. She heard his step on the stair. She had a habit of saying a little silent prayer about the simplest everyday things, and now she whispered, "Please, God, make him think I'm still pretty." The door opened, and Jim stepped in. He needed a new overcoat, and he was without gloves. Jim stopped inside the door. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read. It was not anger, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her with that peculiar expression on his face. Della wriggled off the table and went for him. "Jim," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again. You won't mind, will you? Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you." "You've cut off your hair?" asked Jim, laboriously, as if he had not arrived at that fact yet, even after the hardest mental labor. "Cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well anyhow? I'm me without my hair, aren't I?" Jim looked about the room, curiously. "You say your hair is gone?" he said, with an air almost of idiocy. "You needn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold, I tell you. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hairs of my head were numbered, but nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim?" Out of his trance, Jim seemed to wake. He enfolded his Della. For 10 seconds, let us regard with discreet scrutiny some inconsequential object in the other direction. Jim drew a package from his pocket and tossed it upon the table. "Don't make any mistakes, Dell," he said, "about me. I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first." Nimble fingers tore at the string and paper, and then an ecstatic scream of joy, and then a change to tears, necessitating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of the Lord of the Flat. For there lay the combs. The set of combs that Della had worshipped long in a Broadway window. Pure tortoiseshell with jeweled rims, just the shade to wear in the beautiful, vanished hair. She hugged them to her bosom, and at length she was able to look with dim eyes and a smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Della leaped up like a little singed cat and cried, "Oh, oh!" Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. It seemed to flash with the reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. "Isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. "Dell," said he, "let's put our Christmas presents away and keep 'em a while. They're too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now suppose you put the chops on. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. And here I have related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are the Magi.